What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Awakening World, our very first Wednesday night show. We're back in a new year and a new night because we wanted to have Trish with us. She's back as our regular weekly Wednesday night co-host. I see people already cheering. Sylvia is waving her hands, wildly excited, and so are we. It's great to have you back, Trish. Welcome back.
It's nice to be back.
Yeah. And of course, a big welcome to all of our friends. I see the wild abbot of the Mystic Monastery, Jerry, is with us, and a lot of our friends coming in, Dia and Mark and Sylvia, Karen. And we've got a really lovely show. We're going to be talking all about the power of self-acceptance. But I also want to welcome those of you who are watching as part of our broadcast partners, including our newest broadcast partner, the Conscious Awakening Network. Welcome. Also, some of you are watching on Alan Steinfeld's YouTube channel and our own YouTube channel. And I also want to welcome those of you who are watching on over 100 Facebook groups and pages. And that's all because of John and Summer Raymer, our friends with the Sign Network. Thank you, John and Summer, for getting us out to so many people. Now, if you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube or one of those other broadcast partners, that's great. And come on into our Zoom room. In fact, come on and join the Global Peace Tribe. It's really easy to do that. Just go to globalpeacetribe.com, globalpeacetribe.com, and register. You just click the register button, and that takes you in. We do 3 or more shows every week. In fact, we're doing 4 shows this week. And so you'll get the links to all of our shows for the next 3 months. That's a really wonderful thing. We also now have retreats. We had our first retreat in October. We're planning a second retreat at the end of March in Southern California. And we're going to be in Asheville, North Carolina later in the year. So the Global Peace Tribe is a happening thing. And we bring you every week the leaders, the inspiration, live music, all sorts of wonderful things. And so, for example, tonight our guests include Dawn Light. There she is. And Dawn and Trish, of course, partner together every Thursday morning, that's tomorrow morning, on the Self-Love Show. And you two have been doing that for over 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Hello.
Amazing. So welcome, Dawn. And we also have with us one of my absolute favorite teachers. You know, when I'm scrolling on Facebook, I always stop to see what Ariel Brown has to say. Really, Ariel, I so appreciate your wisdom. The way you express yourself is so eloquent and so much wisdom, always about topics like tonight. And that's why I was like, oh my God, if we can get Ariel to talk on this topic, that would be really awesome. So thank you for being with us.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
And we, of course, have our beautiful beloved brother Omashar with us. And Omashar is our house musical artist. And I'm going to turn it right over to you, Omashar, just to get us started.
All right.
A musical offering.
Happy Now Here, everybody. And this is a different thing. Wednesday night, far out. It's quite lovely, actually. And the topic tonight is a balm to my heart. I know that it is. And so let's find something to play.
Ooh, cool.
I know, right? Okay. Woo! Woo! Do without you in my life? It would seem so unreal. I'm glad it's not true. What could I ever feel if you left me alone? I'm so happy you're here, that you came through. I am one love with you. You're part of my life. Don't think that I'm crazy, 'cause I feel so alive in this new situation. I am never alone. You gave me your heart, and now I call it my home. Show me a better way to get on with my life. I wasn't always as real until you. I know of the constant change that we need for our souls. There is always a way for us to get through. I am one love with you. You're part of my life. Don't think that I'm crazy, 'cause I feel so alive in this new situation. I am never alone. You gave me your heart, and now I call it my home. Part of my life. Don't think that I'm crazy, 'cause I feel so alive in this new situation. I am never alone. You gave me your heart, and now I call it my home.
Hey, thank you so much.
That was
Sure.
definitely amusing.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love that background, though. I mean,
I
that
know,
is,
I found it today and I thought, that's what I want for this song.
yeah. I mean, it is very bright, almost psychedelic. It reminds me a little
It
bit of,
is. I straddle a line sometimes because I've got some really trippy backgrounds, but I don't know if our audience would appreciate it. You know how it is.
yeah.
I'm joking about that, of course.
You do whatever you want to do, Amashar. Like,
I know. I'm just jesting. I tend to, as a Brit, I've taken all the sarcasm out of my humor, but I still have about 60% humor with everything that I speak, because I realized that my humor that I was brought up with was cutting people off at the legs, literally, like Monty Python. And it took me a long time to realize that, hang on a minute, dude, this is your heart speaking to another beloved's heart, so stop it.
well, may you be able to bring more of yourself here, all of you, including that cute British sarcasm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome.
And we can always get more of Omar Shore by going to his Bandcamp. Remember, the best way to
He'll be back.
He will be back. Well, you can see it, Omashar.
Yes, bandcamp.com, exactly. And everybody can hold the space for me to manifest my new 2 albums. I'm looking at 2 albums at the moment, but it could take 3 or 4 months. So yeah,
Oh, we got time. We'll wait for you.
thank you so much. And we're in a year where time is ours. We can expand it to whatever we need to sort out, whatever we need to sort out within ourselves, so that we can communicate beautifully. And yeah.
Can you tell us about some of these?
Some of the albums? Well, actually, the Purple album, the top left. Oh, hang on a minute.
Never mind.
He'll be back. It was he's rebooting, so maybe we could. Now we don't have that. Maybe we can bring on Dawn. And where are you? Would be me that does that. Okay, hang on a minute.
Well, just like we were assuming, I assumed this. I don't know if anybody else did, but I left a plan for the worst, just because of who I am. Pat just texted and he said we had a blackout. So ding ding.
Oh.
Oh my goodness.
Hi Dawn.
Hi.
Hi Ariel.
Hola.
So I wanted to bring in this conversation, about the New Year, New Me piece. And I have problems with it. I have challenges with that piece because for some of us who are really invested in self-love, I'm recognizing that self-love is about loving now, loving this being right now who doesn't go to the gym, who doesn't have all these like things that I've planned, and sometimes I find that those things can be a trap for me to like not love myself. And that's kind of where when Scott was like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I want to do this. I want to talk about self-acceptance in the moment and how that can help kind of dissolve the resistance to change.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Would you like to respond, Ariel, or you want me to dive in?
I'm open. Do you feel turn on in this moment?
I could easily respond. So I was just giving you the full opportunity if you feel it, if you feel called.
Go for it. I'll play next.
Awesome. Well, I personally resonate with what you're saying because I feel that there's some lack of acceptance in like, it's like shedding the old you and stepping the new me. It's like, and then that's when people set those like New Year's resolutions and go purchase the gym membership and never use it, right? Like, or never follow through with their New Year's resolutions and wonder why, because there's a missing gap or bridge there, right? That needs to be bridged. And I find that acceptance alone is like the first law in spirit. And when you move into acceptance, that's kind of the gateway into your heart and into the deeper understanding of what's going on underneath and behind and underneath the scene. of what's created the circumstances in your life that maybe you're not willing to accept or not wanting a new you from, right? Maybe a new body or a new relationship or a new job, and it's you're not happy there, so you're saying I just want something new. But the reality is, if we lean in and have full acceptance with whatever the maybe icky feelings are, then we get an opportunity to rewrite our story and rewrite it and birth it anew. And that's when it's like landing inside. And when we create change from the inside, then it actually mirrors on the outside for good. And that's when we see that lasting change in people's lives where they have an aha moment. It's like the curriculum is complete. And it takes acceptance to create completion inside ourselves with whatever challenging curriculum we might have. That's been my journey of accepting self. Like, I had a lot of shame to recover from. I'm a recovering shameaholic, like you should say, because I had a lot of I endured a lot of abuse in my lifetime, and I lived in a lot of shame, and it kept me kind of covered up and hiding for many, many years. And it took accepting those parts of me and accepting that part of myself to be able to kind of finally take it off like an old coat and lay it down for good and not have to have that conversation or inner landscape anymore. And acceptance is the first step in really the inner work.
Yeah.
To say.
Jump in.
Yeah, I am. Even just feeling into my system in this moment, in this conversation, the past, I think someone's off of mute that perhaps doesn't mean to be off mute. If it's you, da-da-da-da, and I'm back. The past month has felt like it's been such a deep, humbling process for me. And I feel like I go through these spirals in my life where I have kind of this deep humbling and kind of coming back into 0 point within myself and looking at anywhere where I have learned to associate my value or my worth with something that I've created, an image that I've cultivated, a certain presentation or prestige, and that I have these moments of things starting to dissolve. And the Big Island where I live now has been one of the most major catalysts for just learning to allow dissolving processes in my life. And I don't know if it's possible to not fear them, but to struggle less and surrender more and find my value in my simple embodiment. And, phrases like self-acceptance and self-love and even embodiment, I feel like they're complex words to use because we can use them so often, but they're actually the most powerful and important things in the world. And yet most of us don't even know how to access it. Because to me, when I think of self-acceptance, to me, so much of it is about slowing down so much that I can actually feel into my system, where I've been bypassing myself in subtle ways so consistently in my life that I haven't even realized I was doing it. And then being willing to choose to hold myself in those places and allow to fall away what doesn't want to stay when I choose to hold myself in those places. And it's deeply courageous. And not all of us have necessarily an ample amount of time or space or resource to give ourselves like the gift of that spaciousness to like really be with ourselves. Lately, I've been finding tears are so present for me. Like, just to me, grief, like the letting go, the grief of letting go, like the beautiful grief of letting go and self-acceptance are so deeply intertwined with each other, that giving ourselves permission to be in that space and trust that there's something beautiful in it and through it and on the other side, but we can't be rushing to get there. Like, we have to let ourselves be in it.
Yes. To slow down, right? You know, we can get so just like pushy about the changes that we think need to happen. And one of the things that, you know, I used to make New Year's resolutions, and I used to be like really in that place of like, this is now the time where I'm going to change. And what I would miss and what I would totally leave behind is who I am now, who I was before. And I would just leave, I try to leave that person behind without integrating it into the future. You know, I can't leave, you know, everything, people in my life and my habits and the way my mental and physical habits, all of these things, and just like drop them. Some of them you can, but it's also kind of a piece about shaming yourself for not being where you want to be. And I don't know about you, sometimes I have had amazing, like wild shifts, like transformative shifts like that. But most of the time it's through practice and accepting where I'm at now. And then now, oh, that incremental shift of like, so I went to the gym once this week, or I went to, and then it gets in 2 more times, and then it gets into more times, or if it's in communication or relationship, then I can, you know, maybe I'm not doing that thing that I always do that creates the drama and the conflict. Or maybe it's, you know, and one of the things that self-love isn't something that's just gonna like come on. Again, these are all practices, right? The practice of self-love. I mean, Dawn and I have run this show for a long time, over 2 years, and there's a new practice every week. I mean, luckily we run this amazing show where we get to practice new practices every week and really start to, like, that's our commitment and our consistency to self-love and to loving other people. And we get to practice that. And some of the practices we take with us, and some of them I'm like, no, that's not me. You know, and yet it's all about finding things that feel right now. Even if I'm like a crunchy, you know, I've got habits that I don't like, you know, like, oh, that thing that I do, but it's a habit in my brain. It's a consistent bodied pattern, right? That to only get out of it is to be like, oh, you're doing that Trish thing again. That's so cute. I know you can move through it. But once we shame it, or once we stuff it in a box and throw it away, once we put it back there, it's still gonna be there. And it's gonna come back with a vengeance. It's gonna be like, oh, wait for me, don't leave me behind. And the me that we're leaving behind is usually the little me, right? That's the thing that I'm like, oh, new year, new me, but what about the you that I love? I love the you that's right here today. Can I come with? You know?
That's so sweet the way you say that. It reminds me honestly of like the age stage healing, you know, which is really the work I do with people, is help them identify where and what in their life, you know, because a lot of the times, you know, our trauma is from other time periods, the things that have occurred in our life, and it's unresolved material. And it's kind of, that's the part that people want to leave behind, right? Like put in a box and just be like, oh, forget about it, it's over there, and I always thought, there was a long time in my life where I always felt like, oh, I did the forgiveness of that, it's done, it's complete. But then wondering why there's these reoccurring kind of sticky things going on in the current now reality, right? Showing up in current relationships, and like how many people can relate to that, I see it in my clients all the time. And I can even speak about a client I had recently. Like she basically was really frustrated with the way her life was. And she's like, but I love myself, and this is always the conversation, but I love myself. And that I had to kind of gently massage the conversation of like, but this is where you're not kind to yourself in this way, this language. Look at how, let's look here, and like help her identify and connect the dots to like the younger self and the younger times in her life where it was really hard. And she got to see like, oh my gosh, I really picked up, I adopted ways of being to survive in my behavior from that time period, but it's reflected in the now through this boyfriend she had and different relationships, and wondering why she never felt fulfilled. And it's also the inner landscape of what's going on inside in herself to keep creating it and perpetuating the same pattern. And so it's like a gentle look at all of it. And sometimes it's really tender and raw for people, and there's lots of tears. But it's amazing to see the shifts occur when someone really commits and they do the inner work and they start making self-honoring choices, and they start shifting the dialogue around how they hold it, whatever difficulty is going on, it starts to change. And then you start to change and you start to feel better. And it's a upward draft in consciousness occurring. And that's everything. And who doesn't want that? Like, we all want that evolution and expansion.
Yep. There's a couple of things that are coming up. One, I just want to, something that's been alive for me that I've just been speaking about and writing more about is the addiction to expansion. And to me, it's an aspect of the shadows. I mean, there's multiple shadows to the spiritual movement, but this addiction to having the biggest opening, like being able to come back and tell like the peak expansive story of where you blasted open in a Peruvian jungle with a indigenous like shaman, or and I'm very much in the realms of conscious sexuality, for example, and even just the pursuit of kind of these ecstatic openings of the body, which are beautiful. And a lot of what I'm really interested in is inviting us back into attunement and subtlety, and how looking at in the pursuit of these expansive experiences. And it is really amazing how being in the work and realms of sexuality for the past 8 years at this point, more than anything, what I've learned about is self-abandonment. And how in the pursuit of these, like the desire to open, right? The desire for climax, the desire to let go of all limitations. There is this way that we've almost learned we've learned to abandon or violate ourselves in the process of pursuing this peak opening. And it's like we wonder why we're not being nourished by these expansive experiences that we catalyze for ourselves. Well, it's like, are you moving at a pace that your system can actually be a full yes and absorb what is happening? Or did you move so fast that you actually told your system, I don't actually care whether or not you're ready for this at this pace, because that's what I'm choosing, because I decided this is the way to go. There's this deep, like, like slowing down and coming back into center. You know, and I know a lot of my own shadow that I've worked with is like the fear of being left behind, that if I don't figure out or figure myself out quickly enough, that I'm going to like miss the spiritual boat, or someone's going to do the thing that I wanted to do before I do it, and then I'll have missed out. Like there's something really here, in like the stillness. And, you know, the other piece around self-acceptance, I've been like mulling this piece around, or this writing piece around, there will likely be a time when money and hierarchical status will not matter. There will be a time when money and job titles and letters after your name won't be the thing that defines our value, because it won't actually have meaning in the context of the world that we live in, and what we're creating and how we sustain. And so often we forget that this was a system that was placed upon us and told us what value is and what we need to be in order to be worthy, in order to be enough. Money isn't of nature. It's something that was created by man. And I'd love to really invite this reflection of, if money didn't exist, if education and status and titles didn't exist, how would we derive our value? How would we feel into what gives, how do I feel into what makes me valuable as a human being when all of that is swept away? And then start feeling into what feels true.
Perfect. It's so relevant right now, what you're bringing up for me specifically, because I'm in two really awesome classes. I'm in a cultural anthropology class and a sociology of minority groups class. And one of the things that we're looking at is the origins of money, and barter systems and value. So the social construction of value and human value, along with a bunch of other things. But that is one of the pieces. Like, what would you do? What do you value now in yourself without having the conditioning present itself on you? And that is one of the things that you got to take a look at when you're looking at self-love, right? It's like, what do I want? What do I want? Early in the pandemic, Dawn and I did a show called Redefining Success. And it was specifically on this piece about what does success mean to you personally? What actually is your value? Something that I love to say to my clients is, you are worthy of love, dignity, and respect just for existing. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to work for it. Whoever taught you that, they were taught that too. And they were taught that, and their parents were taught that. And like, you are just worthy of love, dignity, and respect. And you get to choose your delight and your joy. Sometimes, like, going against the grain of the social program conditioning, it's going to be hard. You're going to be pushing things up the hill a lot, because you're not playing the game. The game is like, it's very grooved in. They want you to play the game, and that's why it's so easy. But choosing the heart-centered living, choosing the inspired living is a challenge. It's a commitment to that. One of the things that I wanted to bring in, because I took a note on it, and I was like, oh, you said something about the nervous system. And the thing that has changed my life recently is there's a couple questions that I've been asking myself before I act or move from decision. And one of them is, how can I move from a regulated nervous system? How can I move from regulated nervous systems? So in that sense, it's like, hey, am I doing that thing that I always do where I just like create a whole bunch of like excitement and stuff, or fall in love, or like do something that's out of my nervous system regulation, which is going to totally set my whole system off and potentially set everybody else off? Or if I'm going to like, like in polyamorous relationships, for example, it would be like, is my connection to someone just going to totally trip the whole polycule off? Like, and actually to really think about the nervous system as a tool that you can become friends with is a profound shift, right? It's literally changed the way that I'm moving in the world. It's like, what does my body want to do right now? My body wants to stay at home and to call my best friend for her birthday. Or, I want to because I can, when I call her, I can sing song to her instead of being like, oh, hey, happy birthday, instead of that. It's like the way that you show up, or the way that one shows up with a regulated nervous system, is just so much more heart opening. Talk about self-love, talk about self-acceptance in the moment of accepting that maybe I'm aging here. I'll say it to her, I'm aging. My body is slower, Can I accept myself for not being 20 something anymore with like a thigh gap and whatever it was that society told me it was my value? But instead of just being like, oh, I have that quirky little thing that I do, and I can kind of fall in love with that. And, I can fall in love with it because my nervous system is here, and I'm actually investing in my nervous system. I'm investing in my body and my future and the people that truly nourish me. Right, Dawn?
Yeah. I mean, it's making self-honoring choices is the root of cultivating self-acceptance, I feel. Like the moment you get into alignment with choosing things that are going to be honoring of self, then it opens the gateway to more and more and more self-acceptance, right? I can speak for myself. Right now, I just turned another age, year around the sun, and I'm having like crazy hormonal shifting going on, and I have like an intense rash on my body right now that I'm having. Like I'm like itchy. It's crazy what I'm going through, and I'm just literally like, I got in the shower and I just cried because it's so uncomfortable. And yet I know the solution is around the corner, and I know that what I need is coming, and I know that my body's having this reaction for whatever reason, and I also am like, okay, I'm going to make stronger self-honoring choices around like tweaking my diet even more. I made a whole pot of bone broth, right? And like, okay, I'm just going to be very gentle and do a gentle reset to see what can really alleviate this, right? And it's all through loving. Instead of hating it and wishing it was gone, I'm like, oh, you're my sacred teacher right now. What are you teaching me? I've been having this conversation. I'm just using this as an example of like, think about the health challenges people go through. I'm going to just speak on that, right? That is a place where people have a very hard time with different things. Like there's really challenging curriculum in life. No matter, every walk of life has some form of very challenging curriculum. And I'm naming mine outward right now. Like mine is very body-centered focus for some reason right now. And I can be okay with it. I'm like, you know what? I know that I'm going to find the solution here. I know this won't be forever. And I'm so grateful for the people I have in my life and the resources I have in my life to move forward with finding solutions. And I can love my body where it's at right here, right now. Right. And that's self-acceptance, and allow myself to move through the frustration, the emotions, the irritation, the you know, like I just was in the shower sobbing around like, okay, spirit, I'm calling you in for a greater level of like breakthrough here. And that's all self-acceptance, that whole dialogue, right?
Yeah, that's beautiful. And yeah, you know, the health piece is so wild. It's like I'm thinking of one of my girlfriends who was really impacted by a strain of COVID she got maybe like 8 or 9 months ago. And for whatever reason, it just really impacted her system. And it's kind of been a constant, like just keeping herself alive has been an ongoing practice. And that her practice is ensuring that she's deeply taking care of her body and not bypassing it so that she just can exist. And it's been such a humbling check, one, not to minimize my struggles in relation to anyone else's struggles, because we all have different struggles that are real, very real to us. But just this, I don't know, there's something really powerful and real just about coming back to the body, and that it's super cliche, but it's like, it's such a gift that we wake up in the morning and that we can breathe, and that like my lungs are clear and that I can walk. And that I have a car that can take me places. It's like, it's such a paradox. And to me, that's been the biggest kind of paradoxical, like spiritual practice of learning how to be at genuine peace with what I have in my life while also feeling the desire for more. And to not make wrong the desire for more, because the desire for more is beautiful. And yet, if it's in a way that feels like it's at an expense or not appreciating that which is here now, then what's the point of more? And that's something that I've really been feeling into for myself. Of, you know, as I expand and receive more in my life, one of the things that I've learned is that I can feel scarce when I have nothing in the bank account, and I can feel scarce when I have an immense amount in the bank account, and or whatever the equivalent is for you. And realizing, like, I'm aware that there is a consciousness that people can embody where it doesn't matter however much we have, it's never enough. Because the fear that it's going to disappear, or whatever it is that it won't stay, gets in the way of just being able to appreciate it. And that feels really important to me in my life right now. I want to be a person who feels deeply whole and deeply enough, regardless of what I do or don't have, and to set that blueprint in myself. And it's tender. It's a tender spot.
I see your tenderness.
I acknowledge what you said. That's very, very powerful. And I really firmly stand in that same solidarity with you in that. I feel the same practice in my own life. Like just really deep, deep gratitude for everything in my life. Like hot showers, the food on my plate every day, right? Like the beautiful, healthy child I have, my marriage, like my long-term marriage, and all the beloveds in my life. Trish, the self-love show, all the things that I have going on, it's enough. And yes, there's room for always calling in the next level and more, but it's about being right here, right now, full in the capacity of like experiencing it with depth and gratitude. And thank you, God, for the gift of what's right now, the now. I don't need to bypass it or wish it away or want it to be different. I'm going to lean in and say thank you. Like it's such a different way of embodying life when you start to say thank you. What if you started saying thank you for even the challenges you have in your life and see them as the gateway of like the greatest opportunity and learning? Like that's it.
Yeah, I love that.
And that is part of the piece. That, I mean, self-acceptance and self-love is a grand thing. You brought it in earlier, Ariel, is that it's like, yeah, it sounds just like this like bumper sticker, self-love, but it's so deep and so vast. And to find the places of acceptance, like it's just, I think that's what love is. My definition of love is the radical acceptance of what is. So the radical acceptance of what is happening right now. And there's nothing wrong with wanting something to be different or to be like growing and evolving and moving forward. But I don't know, I'd love to talk a little bit about not enoughness for a moment, but I also want to check in because Scott's here and so is Amashar. And I want to say, I think that there's music. There's some things that are supposed to happen that I don't know about this show anymore.
Well, yeah, how ironic that on your first show back, boom, within minutes, the lights go out and blackout and all of that kind of thing. So
it shows the power of our presence. Yeah, because we're talking about really amazing things at the moment. It's touching me so deeply. There are so many ways I'd love to go with Ariel and Dawn and Trish's knowledge that I know it could unlock some places in my heart that I didn't even know were locked. But when you get shown the light of truth, it's like, this is the next step. And so, yeah. So what should we do? Another song?
Trish, usually, just so you know, Omashar does a song at the beginning and at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what we usually do. Also, there's been a little bit of confusion, which I have to take responsibility for. At first, we thought we were going to do this show at 7:30 p.m., but a lot of our people asked to make it earlier, so we moved it to 6 p.m. But a lot of our audience is confused. I'm getting texts and emails from people saying, anyway, so I apologize. You know how it is, first show, all of that sort of thing. Jennifer just wrote, a song works anytime for me. So, I don't know what has already been said and not been said, so I don't want to duplicate. But I certainly would love to encourage each of these three wonderful guests of ours, Trish and Dawn and Ariel, to share any practices, if you haven't already, for how you personally work with self-acceptance on whatever the things are that you have trouble accepting about yourself.
Just one?
No, not just one. At least one each. How's that?
A whole week-long retreat. The five of us could just sit here and teach self-love techniques for the next decade.
Well, let's get going on it. What's the first one that comes up for you, Trish?
So I did a live earlier today about something that I called generosity of the heart. And for me, generosity of the heart looks so, I'm learning how to be self-leaning back into making self-honoring choices, not, choosing not to be codependent, and really to honor what's happening here and to regulate my nervous system to really stay centered and aligned, but also not to step into places where I know are going to be dramatic and harm causing. So do no harm, but take no poop. So Generosity of the heart for me is really looking at my capacity. Do I have capacity to lean in, fully present with another person, and to really take care of this being, like the being that I live in? Like, I live here. I should probably try to like manage this before I step into someone else's drama or their needs, so that I can fully show up. And generosity of the heart also looks not only just in a self-reflective place, but also looks, where can I actively lean in and ask how I can show up better for another person, or how can I be more loving to them? What do they need? So can I open my heart and be with someone's pain? Can I be honest about what is alive for me? Maybe Dawn or Ariel needs someone to have capacity to hold something for them. And if I am holding so much of myself and I don't have capacity, the most generous thing that I can do and the most compassionate thing I can do is say, I don't have capacity for that right now, but I have capacity to do this. And so it's, how can I show up in generosity while being really honest and taking sweet care of the brain, body, spirit that I live in?
Beautiful. Thank you. Dawn, what would you like to, what tip, tool, practice do you personally use that you want to share?
Such a good question. Well, for me personally, I love to just lean back into love inside of myself, to recognize like I am loving essence. Nothing ever changes that, right? And to really experience yourself as love, right? And when we aren't experiencing ourselves as love, it's usually a deep misidentification we have going on about ourself or about our life, and or about some part of our life that's causing the inner conflict that I'm upset because. And when that stuff starts to surface, the inner dialogue of, an inner judgment, or maybe you're judging the outer reflection of life, like someone's being, really nasty, and there's judgment there. I'm just using that as an example. So it's really to catch it and to offer an inquiry around it as, gosh, how am I judging myself? Or how am I judging another person or the circumstance? What is the judgment, right? And if you can excavate that judgment, judgment is self-condemnation. And so that becomes super glue for more patterning to arise and stick to you. It just becomes, a self-fulfilling prophecy, then becomes a pattern, and it becomes that deep groove that your brain gets into, and it becomes the attractor field that creates situations and circumstances and people and patterning in your life. And so to untangle from that web is to first to look at where you judge yourself or judge others. And in the reflection of others is a reflection of ourself. And so it's really powerful to start to just examine your life, and anything that arises is your curriculum. Anything that disturbs your peace is your curriculum and worth looking at. And so really to apply love to each part, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it feels icky, even if it feels, like, oh, I can't stand that feeling. It's an opportunity to lean in with curiosity and explore it, and give yourself room and space to do so. And really, this is the most powerful tool that I use. It's a spiritual psychology principle from beloved Ron and Mary Holnick. It's how you relate to the issue is the issue. So you can start to ask yourself, how am I relating to this that is creating the issue? And it's usually rooted in a dialogue or a misidentification that you can learn to let go of, because it's the egoic part of ourself that is identified, and it's kind of sink its teeth in, and it's really, rooted in a positionality of needing to control the circumstance or needing to control to keep oneself safe. And so it's an opportunity to explore it and to, like, where can I let go and surrender, and what is really, where am I not having acceptance of this circumstance or of that person or of myself? What's the judgment?
Wow. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you very much for that, Dawn.
You're welcome.
Ariel, you recently had this wonderful series of Facebook videos that you did, where you literally took people through a very real sequence of your agitations, and then kind of coming around to learning to appreciate it. I don't want to say too much more, but would you be willing to kind of do a recap of that, maybe as you apply it to agitations or even agitations with self?
Yes. Yes. So I would say what I was describing is kind of a tantric approach to self-acceptance, and wanting to distinguish. A tantric approach does not mean a sexual approach. One of my favorite definitions of tantra that I've ever heard is from a man named Mark Gaffney, and he described tantra as the practice of non-rejection. And basically looking at how there are certain human experiences that we consider to be good and certain human experiences that we consider to be bad. And as a result, there's a certain way that we relate with those experiences based upon if society has told us this is a good experience or a good emotion, or this is a bad experience or a bad emotion. So the past month has been challenging for me, or that's been an aspect of it has been challenging. There's been a lot of beauty, but there's also been a lot of dissolving, a lot of falling away, some crunchy material world moments that, if I got caught up in the story that there were good experiences and there were bad experiences, I could say there's a lot of bad experiences happening right now. And that means I don't like this experience. This sucks. And the story, this is a bad experience, this sucks, creates a whole cascade of feelings and energies in my body that can define my whole day, my whole reality. There are bad things happening. Now my body feels bad. Now I feel sad. Now I'm putting out this energy of bad things are happening, and I'm creating a world that reflects something bad is happening. So this story that Scott is talking about is like, I had this moment of just like, what if my soul actually loves these crunchy experiences just as much as the quote unquote good ones, and that my human might have its preferences about good experiences versus bad experiences, but there's also a spirit who came into this body with a desire to have a full spectrum human experience. And it wasn't looking to just have good, blissful experiences. In fact, it's probably used to just existing in perfect harmony all the time. And it actually wants the full range. Up is not good. Down is not bad. It's all sensation. It's all experience to be related with. And it's a gift, and when we don't reject it, we can just be in relationship with it. So, it feels connected to what Dawn was saying of just like, it's not the issue, it's the way that I'm relating with this issue. So when I'm experiencing crunchy moments, can I tell myself, I love this? I love this crunchy moment right now. I love that I've been on the phone with this person for 3 hours and I haven't gotten anywhere. I love that this is happening right now. Like, I must love it because it's here. And just exploring that as a practice. You may not believe it right away. I don't necessarily believe it all the time I say it, but if I look at myself in the mirror enough times and I say that I love myself, the first 6 or 7 times I might be like, I don't want to be saying this anymore. But eventually it's just like something shifts. And if making the experience wrong isn't getting you where you want, why not try just playing with the game of maybe I love this and just see.
So I'm curious as you talk about that. Don't we start with accepting before we can love it? Like I know that for myself, I have to start with accepting something before I can graduate to liking it. And then if I can really graduate to liking it, then I can really stretch like relationship yoga into loving it. But it seems like it starts with accepting it. Like, okay, this is.
Ron and Mary always say that acceptance is the first law of spirit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, when Trish said, let's do this show, this topic, and I mentioned this to you all on the early, before we came on air, and before blackouts began. But, you know, it's the new year, and most people are wanting more love in their life. And more love starts with more self-love, henceforth, Trish and Dawn. And most self-love starts with self-acceptance. And that's really kind of how we came around to wanting to do this show.
I think that a lot of the places where we're taught that, like, it's literally, we're taught to not be enough. We didn't wake up in this body or this lifetime thinking that we're not enough. It's not something that happens for humans. We are taught that. We are taught to work hard for love, connection, whatever. We're taught that we need to conform to fit into something, and if we can't, most of us can't. I can't fit into what some standard is, that we're unlovable. And I think that these like, sometimes I can feel people's resolutions sometimes are in that not enoughness. It's a perpetuation of that deep fear of, and it could be an insecurity of a lot of different things, but the deep fear of not having connection, belonging, not fitting in, not being worthy of love, not, you know, having our basic human needs met, that we are somehow, some way unworthy of those things. And that's the place of like, where is the desire to change coming from? Is it the running away from, or is it the acceptance of here? So much to a point where, I mean, yeah, you might not like it. Like, it's, you know, might not like it this right out the gate and right off the bat. But it's like, can I accept what is real and alive now, to a point where I'm like, well, this doesn't suck so much anymore. Ooh, it's a little less sucky today. Woo! Whew. And then it's like tomorrow I'm like, okay. And then it's again practice of coming to this place of like, oh, I actually kind of feel somewhat neutral about it today. And then tomorrow I'm like, oh, it was kind of good. Look at that thing. And then it's like, oh, I love that quirky thing that makes you so weird. You know, like whatever that thing is for you. You know the thing. You know, I know you're listening and watching, but that thing that you're really insecure about, that thing, yeah, that one right there. That thing, I want to love you there. I want to love you for all of that. That piece, yeah, that one right there.
You know, I want to read one of the things that just came in, because I think it's an interesting question. I don't know how to pronounce the name. Dita says, why do we have to like or love and experience that feels bad? Why isn't it enough to simply accept that it is happening and be open to the learning it provides? I feel that it can be dangerous to have to love and like all experiences.
It's not specifically like, we're not saying love the abuse. Like, it's not that. We're not taking it to an extreme, but there's pieces of you that are habituated and they're part of you. Like, there are things that you do that you probably are like, that thing again. I don't know. I'm speaking for me. I have some things about me that I'm like, oh, that thing again. And if I wanted to change that thing, doing that, oh, that thing again, isn't going to change it. And in fact, the more I do that, the more I perpetuate that particular piece in my life. And it literally like sinks it into the ground where it'll create a resistance where I can't move it. And it's not to like or love it, but to accept it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this quirky thing that I annoyingly do. Here's the thing. I'll just be honest. I leave things around the house. Like my ADHD, I'm always saying, don't put it down, put it away. Don't put it down, put it away. But I will still leave a trail of Trish all over my house. And sometimes when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh, I did so good until something happened, and then I'm like, oh, and then I clean up the thing. But me shaming myself isn't going to help it. Me accepting like, oh, there's that thing I do again, and kind of being okay with that is actually going to help it shift. Mm-hmm. We're not saying, like don't accept abuse or violence or harm or self-harm, like those types of things. It's not with that.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Ariel.
Yeah, I'd love to add in and weave with what Trish is saying in regard to your question, Dee Dee. So something that I work with a lot in the containers that I hold is the nuance between allowing ourselves to feel the authentic experience of suffering when it's there versus noticing when we've actually become addicted to the experience of suffering because it actually feels safer there than to let go of it.
Yeah.
And it can be a very touchy place to go because not everyone's ready to let go of suffering in that way. And the thing is, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with holding on to suffering. But if we continue to judge the experience of suffering, it's going to stick there. So only you can know, only each of us can know what is true and what is just attachment to what we've known up until this point.
Yeah, beautifully stated. And it is true. Oftentimes people become attached to their painful story. And I think we all have done that. And we've all, as coaches, witnessed people who are doing that. Yesterday I was coaching somebody who's recently gotten divorced. And she was recounting some of the abusive things that she went through. And is going through a rage, just really realizing that it was not okay. And we were working on the practice that it is not okay, but it happened. It's not okay, but it did happen. So the acceptance part is accepting what happened. We don't have to like it, we don't have to condone it, but we do accept it. And then we look at how has that impacted me? If I just really drop into trying to change the other person or change what happened, but accepting that this has happened, how has it impacted me? And we found that to be very useful. I'm curious what that might bring up for any of you, because by the way, all three of these women are amazing coaches, which we're going to learn about in a moment. But I guess I'm going to you coaching for a moment. When you're working with people that, I'll bring everybody up on camera here. When you're working with people as a coach that are struggling with shame or struggling with something that they've done, what are some of your practices or even success stories of helping people to shift from shame or guilt into acceptance? I'd love to hear from all of you on this one.
Gone first.
Well, I come from the school of thought that we really are loving essence, and that the egoic identities and misidentifications that are rooted in the difficult things that occur in our life curriculum, really, the soul has come here for learning. and that's the growth and learning. And so we choose themes that we step into in our soul's evolution when we incarnate on the earth school. And I love saying that, earth school. Here we are in earth school for our learning, and all of it is our learning. The ups, the downs, the sideways, the challenges, the family stuff, all the things. And so it's really an opportunity to really take a deeper dive into what is the theme of your life. What's the theme of your curriculum? And sometimes it's a theme of grief, or sometimes it's a theme of learning through challenging relationships, or, it's different for every person. And it's really powerful to really look at your life through that and start to really, notice the things that went on in your younger years, and like start to really identify, gosh, I have this theme that just keeps repeating in my life, this theme of disempowerment, or this theme of anger, or, and what is this for me? And I just help them kind of take a deeper look and start to untangle from it. And, I can really speak about myself, right? Because I've done a lot of deep work on myself and created a complete role reversal in my marriage through inner work, and helping myself lay down the wounded masculine that I was carrying. And I really do help women with this because I went through it myself. And I carried a wounded masculine because I decided at a very young age that I would be safer. And this was so unconscious of me. I was probably 3 when I made this decision, that I would be safer to be the man and the woman, because I saw that it wasn't safe for me to trust how relationships unfolded, my mom and my dad, and how they related. It was very scary. And they related in a very scary way. And so I decided that I would be both. And then as I got into a loving relationship and broke the cycle of abuse and untangled and really chose divine partnership and cultivated solid, beloved, divine partnership, like I married the most kindest man that I have ever met. And he's still my husband to this day. But interestingly enough, the curriculum kept still surfacing. I still was needing to come home to the exiled parts that were really, really challenging in my childhood. And I do this work with others. And so the most amazing thing is I was able to start to own how I was showing up, like how the pattern is created by having certain language. Like instead of using like blame statements, and like it's you, you're showing up this way, I started acknowledging, gosh, when I hide in this way, or I don't disclose information, or I do this thing and that thing, and I really started to own what my side of the street was, that's when things started to shift for me in our relationship. And I was able to deeply identify that this is just one thing for me. I'll be vulnerable here and share this. My parents always fought about sex and money, and that very core patterning was like an overlay on top of my marriage, and it was the matching curriculum coming forward in my own marriage, where we were fighting about those things. Now we don't. Like we don't even have. It's so amazing what has shifted by me letting go of that pattern and me identifying, like, gosh, where did I judge my dad? Where did I judge my mother? Where do I judge myself? And what are the misidentifications I hold around relationships and relating and money and sex and like all this? And so once I started having that dialogue with myself and getting really honest and curious and using curiosity as the gateway and acceptance as like the next step, like, oh, wow, I really do have those beliefs. And then that's when the rewriting and rewiring can occur. You have to understand it before you can move into acceptance and then unconditional love and compassion for what the pattern has been. And then you can let it go, and apply. Really, you can't have forgiveness until you've had understanding or in your consciousness around what it is. And a lot of people will have a resistance to forgiveness. When you offer forgiveness before they've had a chance to really digest what it is and come to acceptance, they'll resist it and be like, no, I'm not ready for that. I need to keep talking about it.
Thank you so much, Dawn. Gosh, there's so many things that I want to add, and I'm going to read Sylvia's message in a moment. Maybe one of you might want to respond to it. But I love what you just said about forgiveness. And in Love Coach Academy, what we teach is that before you get to forgiveness, both sides need to understand each other. The person who created the hurt needs to understand the consequence of their choice and how it impacted the other. And then the one who got hurt needs to understand why the person made that choice, not to condone it, but to understand it. And then once there's mutual understanding, then the forgiveness is much more real, much more palatable. While we've got Dawn here, I do want to take people to her website because Dawn is a brilliant coach. She's been on Global Peace Tribe shows many times. I try to watch the Self-Love Show whenever I can, and we'll talk about Self-Love Show in a moment. But this is Dawn's website. It's dawnlightamora.com. Also, mykajabi.com takes you there. And Dawn, tell us a little bit about the coaching that you do and kind of who you especially like to work with, like the demographic group that you most enjoy working with. And soon I want to encourage everybody, by the way, make sure you do what I'm doing right now, put in your name, and so you can know all about what Dawn is offering. I'll fill it in that way. There we go. Tell us about the work that you do, Dawn.
Thank you. So I really help the woman that is seeking greater expansion with love inside of herself and to come home to the parts of herself that have really she's struggled with. Maybe you've struggled with rejection or distrust in your relationships, or you've experienced a reoccurring pattern in relationship where you're like, gosh, this territory feels so familiar. I can recognize that it's the reoccurring same thing. And it's been a theme going on in all the relationships that one has had. I really work with women that have been married or in long-term relationships, but even I work with women that are single and wanting to cultivate deep relationship. And it with self, most importantly, and then it can come in the outward experience where you're manifesting your beloved. And it's really an opportunity to do a deep dive into your own personal spiritual curriculum. Learn about what your curriculum really is in this lifetime, help you understand it and how to work with it, give you the tools and resources to really help you come home to the greater parts of self that are aching to heal, and really help you look at the age stages where the difficulty has arisen or where the curriculum lies, so that you can clean that stuff up. And it's like removing the big boulder out of our spiritual backpack, like what's in the way, and like helping you come home to that, and so that you're not creating from that place, because it's the unresolved material in our consciousness is what is going to keep perpetuating the same types of relationships, the same patterns, the same place where you're just not met, and you feel you have this ache, and you acknowledge like, gosh, my partner always shows up in this way, and it's really not okay with me. But how do I keep drawing and attracting the same people in my life? This is the thing for women. So I just really want to invite you into deeper conversation around trusting self and building self-honoring choices in your life so that you can make big breakthroughs with your own personal curriculum.
Wow, powerful. Thank you, Dawn. It's highly recommended.
Thank you.
There's a comment and a question that just came in. I'll read it, and then I would love to hear one or more of you respond. It's from Sylvia, and she writes very vulnerably, "My current path is dealing with foundational violation that started happening shortly after my birth. My system of parts formed around resisting and separating from the primal pain of those experiences. For several weeks, I've been birthing poop. Beyond affirmations, verbally rewriting the story, talking through it, I continue to seek more possibilities to be physically present with myself in safe, nourishing, and welcoming ways. Do any of you have practices to recommend when love and touch have been fundamentally twisted experiences?"
Mm.
I'll share something that arises. Yeah, working with, especially, I'm not assuming this is what your experience is, but for example, childhood sexual abuse can be such a challenging location to work, because there's desire to open into this beautiful thing of pleasure when also there's so much often shame and confusion and distrust wrapped up around it. And one of the things, we were bringing this up earlier, that I find is so important, when it sounds like what there's a desire for is kind of like bringing the fragmented self back into wholeness, which in itself requires space. It requires not a rush. And also knowing that emotions are welcome to arise, as, even just, I'm not even talking about sexual touch. I'm just talking about touching on the body. And in this case, one of the things that I actually would recommend is, I think of like somatic experiencing practitioners, for example, like having a space where that you are welcome to take up the space, and that there's no rush and there's nothing that you're expected to give, and that it's with someone who you really trust, so that literally it's like they can just touch your shoulder, and maybe just as they're starting to move, you can say like, wait, like pause, like there's something coming up here and I just need to express. Like, to me, this is about creating safe experiences, present time, that show you it's safe for me to be here, when in the past it wasn't safe. So you're letting your system know, like, this is new. So that's something I would really recommend if you have the ability to do so.
I love that. I love somatic experiencing. Great piece of advice.
Yeah. And thank you for your willingness to be seen, Sylvia. It's really beautiful.
What a vulnerable share. And what comes for me is that this very individual and very painful, informative experience is something that is shared by many, many people. Right? Yeah. And I know. I guess you. I went through something similar, but not so early in my youth. And before I could find touch and connection, I had to allow myself to be angry and to pound and scream and fight and do the experience of, to give myself permission to protect myself, give myself permission to early childhood, like become the early young person and say no and stand up for myself. And lots of visualizations around older Trish protecting my young being and walking forward in time, knowing that you, the little person, had choice in that matter, like to rewire the brain, right? And that, for me, it took multiple times in that of people walking me through, and someone that I trusted before I could allow myself to even be physically like touched and to actually feel it. And then similar to what Ariel said is a somatic experiencing. I went a Gestalt route. So a person that I really love and adore, her name's Zuza Engler. I study with her a lot. She does a lot of embodied Gestalt practices, so nonverbal things, because some traumas that I had were pre-verbal and I can't talk them out. I had to crawl around on the floor and amoeba it and express it, and to be seen in that without being touched before I could actually let someone hold me, like deeply hold me, to put their hands on my body in a way that I could receive their safe, loving touch, so that I could feel safe. And to eventually get like a professional cuddler to hold me. And I know that not everyone has the financial availability to actually access some of these places of either hypnosis or guided meditation, to the Gestalt work, the embodied Gestalt work, or even the cuddle places. And that's one of the things that I love to do, is to help people find resources that can work for them and their finances. I know that this is a hard place, and to remember that you now are an adult and you get to choose your own body's safety. Yeah, I know. And you have a bunch of people here who love you and who see you every day with your stuffies and your candles. Yeah, we got you. We love you. We see you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sylvia, for asking that beautiful question and opening it. And I'm imagining that what Trish and Ariel have provided might be useful and valuable for multiple people watching. So thank you for asking such a beautiful and vulnerable question. Yes, Dawn.
I just wanted to add one thing. Like, I really want to invite you, Sylvia. I also want to say thank you for your vulnerability. And I want to encourage you to be with a young one. Just be with her. When you go inside, when you're laying in bed, this is the best time to do it. When you're laying in bed, to put your hand on your heart and to put your hand on your womb, and, you know, really attune to you, the love that is inside your being, and really feel the presence of love and bring that energy in, and open yourself to your higher self, and ask your higher self to come in and bring the vibration, strengthen the vibration of love in your container. And then ask your higher self or your inner counselor to guide you to the younger part of yourself. And then say, I'm here with you. I want to talk with you. I'm right here with you. I'm right here with you. And then literally just touch your body. And where is the pain that you feel? Go there and be with it. And then remind the younger self, you did nothing wrong. I'm right here with you. You did nothing wrong. Yeah, you're right here. I'm right here with you. You did nothing wrong. I love you.
Sylvia, it looks like you might want to say something.
You're on
So
mute.
just unmute.
And I'm just, she doesn't understand the words, Dawn. And she doesn't feel safe when I touch her in the parts that are hurting. So, the teddy bears have been helpful as surrogates, because I can hold them.
Yes.
She feels safe. We feel safe.
Yes.
And I do Reiki on myself in the places that are hurting. And identify more beyond male or female. I identify as a womb being.
Yes.
Being present in the womb area for me is as important as being present in the heart.
Yes. Beautiful. That is a beautiful, it's beautiful.
So, thank you, each of you, for your offerings.
Thank you so much for your presence and your loving towards yourself and the courageousness that it takes to stand up and say, this is what's going on for me. And I think that, again, I want to affirm what Ariel and Trish said. I think that somatic experiencing is such a powerful tool. If you could find, I don't know where you live, Sylvia, but if you could just Google somatic touch in your area, and that might be, because it works directly with the nervous system and the spinal fluid and helping your body attune. And it's nonverbal, which is amazing. So, and it sounds like that's a modality that might serve you well.
Thank you. I live in Columbus, Ohio. Finances and getting out of the apartment and transportation are all challenges. So I'll see what I can find.
And we just send you light. We just send you so much light and love.
Thank you.
Let's go to gallery view, and everyone, maximum grace for Sylvia. Maximum grace for Sylvia. Maximum grace for Sylvia. So I want to acknowledge that about 10 people just joined us because they were under the impression that the show was starting at 7:30. And so I'm going to bring my co-host Trish here. So here's what happened. We switched from Friday nights to Wednesday nights. So this one can be here because she's available on Wednesday nights. Originally, we thought we were going to do it at 7:30 p.m. And that's what I had put into the email that people get when they sign up. But then people were saying, Scott, can you make it earlier? So we last weekend agreed to make it 6 p.m., but I hadn't changed the responder. So here we are. So we actually have already done 90 minutes. Trish, can you stick around for a little bit longer? Yeah. So we can provide a little more on this topic for our 7:30 friends. But from now on, we will be doing the show at 6 o'clock Pacific time, 9 o'clock Eastern.
And it's really, specifically to be able to facilitate or hold space for those people on the East Coast that want to show up. Because it is late there at 7.
One of our wonderful guests, who of course many of you have seen, is Ariel Brown. And Ariel needs to go, unfortunately. So I do want to take a moment to acknowledge, first of all, thank you for being with us, Ariel. I so always appreciate your wisdom. And to remind people that did see her and want more of her, her website is her name, arielbrown.com. And she spells it ARIELLE, ARIELLE, 2 L's, brown.com. And Ariel does a mentorship program. And do tell us a little bit about your mentorship program, Ariel.
Yeah, so much of my work, the common thread is alignment. It's about creating deeper alignment between the authentic truths and desires of what our soul actually wants and the way that our external world looks, the way that our work currently looks, the way that our relationship works, the way that our relationships look. More than anything, I feel like I help people create truly meaningful lives and relationships by creating work and relationships that reflect what their souls truly desire. And looking at where we kind of got off track from really living in alignment with our authentic self in every moment. I work with all genders, I work with all couples, and in all honesty, the demographic I feel most excited to lean back into working with more are single men who have achieved a certain level of success in their career and have really learned how to create external success, and have really learned how to seek and fulfill external validation in their lives. But what they're missing is this deeper fulfilling or meaning of like sense of connection to themselves, ability to create true and meaningful intimacy in their lives, and just a deeper feeling of meaning and meaningful fulfillment in their lives. So I'm working with men who want to create that deeper experience of intimacy with themselves and in their relationships, so they're not so externally focused. And yeah, it's really beautiful work.
It is beautiful work. And so again, it's arielbrown.com, and register, always sign up for people's so that you can be in touch with what Ariel and Dawn and Trish are doing. And I love what she says: explore the alchemy of desire, trust, boundaries, and power. Well, those are 4 things that it's useful to have a coach like Ariel to work on. And I've been following Ariel for quite a while. She's also part of RelationFlix, which we all are involved with as well. So Ariel, thank you so much for being with us on our Wednesday night debut show, The Return of Trish, and sharing your wisdom about such an incredibly important topic. Thank you.
Yeah, love. Thanks so much for having me here. I'm really wonderful to connect with all of you humans. I'm sending you a lot of love. Aloha.
Aloha. She's in Hawaii, so we get to get a little bit of that tropical. So again, for those of you who just joined, the topic is the power of self-acceptance. And we have Trish and her partner, Dawn. And I'm curious how many of you watched the Self-Love show. Trish and Dawn have been doing it for almost, we're all coming up to almost 3 years since the start of the pandemic, and when we started doing all these online shows. And so I'd love for you both to just share a little bit about the Self-Love show. And for those of us in the audience who watch it or have watched it, pop in some of your comments, what you appreciated about it. But obviously, self-love and self-acceptance come together. So what are some things the 2 of you would like to share that we haven't already shared tonight?
Go ahead. Okay, you want me to dive in? All right. So, the Self-Love show is an amazing experience. We've enjoyed every moment of it. We love each other so much, and it's an opportunity for us to be together weekly and have amazing guests. We find that, self-love is a wide umbrella. There's never one size fits all to like the love experience or to healing. And so we love to give an opportunity to showcase, like, wow, look at this modality, look at that. What's your viewpoint on this? And it's juicy. It's a juicy conversation weekly. And honestly, it's never the same, and it never gets old. And it's such a powerful, deep exploration that we find ourselves in weekly. And it's fun.
It's so fun, even when we're crying. So many times have we talked about this, is that the Self-Love show was created out of the pandemic to give people opportunities to have free coaching and free therapy. And that still lives really like really foundationally for us, is that the gift and the offering of the Self-Love show being just that, is like to teach us all better self-love and relational skills. Mm-hmm. I just want to say that it is on, so our assistants have helped put it on all the podcast platforms. It's on YouTube, and it's also recently on KPFZ 88.1 in Lakeport, and someone is listening to it in our audience, which makes me like delighted. I was like, who even listens to this show? So it's awesome. I'm grateful. That just makes it all worth it. Lake County, California is KPFC 88.
Thank you for listening.
That's Susan Bloomquist who wrote that. So
Nice.
very, very cool. Good job, Susan. You just made the girls' night. For those who are watching and can't see what we put in the chat box, you can go back and catch earlier shows by going to the selfloveshow.buzzsprout.com. The selfloveshow.buzzsprout.com. And that's where you can see a lot of the more recent ones. And I see that you've had a lot of Emily Oram. I know her. I know that person. Just a little bit. You had Kaji. She's great. I love her meditations. She's been on the Awakening World. So anyway, a lot of wonderful people. Marty Casey, Nika Sherrill. So a lot of wonderful, wonderful people here. And the topics: embodying shameless self-love, living a shame-free life, loving self using our map of the inner senses. So a wide variety of variations on all about self-love. And yeah, go ahead, Trish.
You can find it like the podcast seems to be working for a lot of people because they can listen to it on the road or wherever, doing dishes or whatever they're doing. You can also, if you want to watch the facial expressions and the business, you can find us on YouTube as well at the Self Love Show. Just type it in. And if you can find us on Facebook as well. And, we're popping around there.
I know that, originally we were going to start at 6, go to 7:30. That's what I told our guests. But now we have, of course, our second wave of 7:30ers coming in, and I want to make sure they get some goodies. Dawn has to go make dinner for the kiddos in a moment. But Dawn, before you go, could you share maybe something you haven't already said tonight about self-love and the power of self-acceptance? What's a tool or a practice you can share?
Well, for me, I said this before, but it's how you relate to the issue is the issue. And when you're experiencing a trigger or an upset, this is your opportunity to come home to a greater level of learning inside of yourself. And it's an opportunity to let go of a misidentification or something that's not serving you, and really identify what is my value here? What's underneath this that's creating it? What is the message for me here? And I find that when you have that dialogue around no matter what is going on, it really gives you awakening. It gives you a breakthrough. And if you just can slow down to listen to yourself and really ask yourself, like, gosh, how am I relating to this that's creating it? It's not the outer circumstance that's the issue. It's, even though it may seem like it, because things are really a conundrum sometimes and very challenging. And it's our opportunity to really lean in and explore inside. Oh gosh, how am I relating to myself that is out of alignment with God, source, spirit, creator? Because it's all an opportunity for greater learning. And, loving ourselves more in the places that may seem challenging, right? Like, a difficult relationship or the loss of a job or the loss of a loved one. There's so many curriculums that arise that can be very, very challenging. And it's our opportunity to deeply hold in the loving and really acknowledge ourselves as love's essence and love's presence. That is pivotal and foundational to really start to relate to yourself through, I am love's essence. I can't get away from it. It is the fabric of my being is made up of love. There is no other. The only thing I need to look for and seek and identify and find are the barriers built against myself that are built against love. And that's our conditioning. That's the egoic layers, the patterning, the things that we're born into, our conditioned familial responses based on what has occurred in our younger years. and the way our life was formulated to make us believe, this is how I stay safe, by believing these sets of beliefs, and that's what creates my reality, until you're challenged by life and those things no longer work. And we've all, as we age and grow, the things that used to work for us in some ways of relating or things no longer work. And so it's an opportunity to really explore, okay, I can see that doesn't work for me anymore. What is my opportunity here? And if you can look at life through the lens of what is my learning, what is my opportunity, that expands the loving in every area of your life and expands compassion for others when they're going through their experience. You can just be with. There is no need to fix it. There is no need to solve it. It's being with, in the heart of compassion towards self and others, no matter what is occurring. That is self-love.
Beautiful. So again, people are asking where to find it. It's on every Thursday at 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern. And it's on Facebook. And it's on their own Facebook page. Just go to Facebook, the Self-Love Show on Facebook. We also carry it on Love Coach Academy, and the Sign Network puts it out to a lot of different places. So that's where you can find the Self-Love Show. Or if you want to go to the previous shows that they've done, that's what I was showing before, the selfloveshow.buzzsprout.com. So those are the ways to get the past and future shows. And you've got a show tomorrow morning. Who's your guest tomorrow?
We're going to find out, because I'm in the back end right now, fiddling with the snafu. No, let me look. Just one.
You saw the email. Yes.
So what you all don't know on the back end is that, who knows what could potentially happen in the ethers, but we have Naya, Sarah D'Antoni. She's part of the Grounded Feminine. Definitely like with the Journey to Secure and the whole attachment community group. So I'm really excited to talk about some more secure attachment stuff, because that's been our theme for the last couple weeks, secure attachment. Let's rock it.
Beautiful. Well, thank you again, Dawn, for being with us. And I apologize to everybody for the snafu. It's Mercury retrograde. We are in Mercury retrograde. And we're also in the start of a new year, a new night, a new Wednesday. So I do apologize for those of you who we did say 7:30 and then we changed to 6 and didn't properly convey that. So we will, Trish has agreed to stay on for a bit, and Omashar is going to stay on for a bit. So we're going to do a little bit more Awakening World. What's for dinner in the kiddos tonight, Dawn?
Steak and asparagus.
I'm on my way over. That sounds yummy.
Yeah.
Well,
and also some like little these pasta things that he loves. I'm not eating that, but he will. So.
All right. Well, give my best to your husband and the kids.
One kiddo.
One kiddo. That's right. I've met your one kiddo.
Yes.
The little kiddo and the big kiddo, right?
Yes. Thank you so much, Scott, and happy birthday to you, and happy New Year to everyone. And it's my wish for you to just keep expanding your self-love and keep leaning in and keep trusting yourself, keep listening to yourself, keep being devoted to yourself, keep making those higher and better choices around your life. Self-honoring choices lead to greater acceptance and greater self-love. And that's the practice. And it's a moment by moment practice. And I just send my love to you and all my loving, and may light surround your life and surround all the parts of your life that you're asking for help and support and greater assistance. May Spirit just bless you exponentially and bring forward the opportunity to cleanse and clear in your consciousness what has been the issue or the pattern, so that you can lay it down and take it off like a wet coat. And this is your year to step forward into the greatest capacity of loving in all parts of you and all parts of your life.
Oh, beautiful. I see people are really taking that in. Jerry, our wild abbot from the Mystic Monastery, Sylvia, definitely really beautiful. So let's all give a Awakening World Global Peace Tribe twinkle to Dawn.
Ah,
Thank you, Dawn.
See you tomorrow morning.
I'll see you in the morning. Yes. Love you.
Oh, wow. Well, Trish,
Yeah.
what's something that you haven't said already tonight about the power of self-acceptance or self-love?
What was the question that you asked and we moved on? I would love to answer the question, but I can't remember. Do you remember the question? Does anyone else remember the question?
How far back?
It was before you asked a question and then we got into a conversation with Sylvia.
Right. Gosh.
Did I take notes? Sometimes I do that.
Well, I know that we've been talking about the differentiation and relationship between self-acceptance and self-love. And we were talking about how this, before we can like something, we have to start by, especially something hard, something difficult, we need to start by just accepting it. This is. And then from this is, then maybe we can graduate to actually learning to like something that we previously were judging or thinking was bad, stupid, or wrong. Is it part of that?
Nope, but it's fine.
Okay.
It's nice to be back with you, Scott. I'm happy. Thank you so much.
Oh, and my heart is happy being back with you. I love co-hosting with you, Trish.
And thank you all for moving around to be here on a Wednesday night and changing up your schedules so that we can be here together and be sassy and silly and delightful and loving. One of the things that, again, we like while you were gone, Scott, we had talked a lot about how some like aspects of the New Year's resolutions is that it can be founded in shame. Oh, that was it. Can be founded in shame and in like the social construct of how we're supposed to be. Like we're supposed to look a certain way, or we're supposed to act like good girls. I don't know about you, but that's what I was taught. And there's supposed to be's. You're supposed to be, and that a lot of the places where I've seen, and even in my past that I've done this, is where I've done New Year's resolutions, and it's been because I'm supposed to be like, oh, I gained some weight over the holidays because I just enjoyed myself, and now I feel guilty because I have some extra on my body. And I wanted to touch that because I think that what I really wanted to talk about here with you, Scott, was really just not having to make these radical shifts to be more loving and to be more like, I'm not saying not to seek out and go towards being a better person. Like, go, yeah, be a better person. If there's things that need to change for you to have the life that you want, do that. And there's also nothing inherently wrong with you.
That's right.
Right?
That's absolutely right.
Like, you are worthy of love, dignity, and respect just for existing. And I know that I said that to you again, and I'm going to continue to just say it to you each time we talk. Like, if you call me up and be like, can you remind me of that thing again? I'm like, yeah, you are worthy of love, dignity, and respect just for waking up in this body in this lifetime. You don't have to shift it. You don't have to change it. You don't have to resolve it. New Year's resolution. Like, you don't have to resolve something. Like, you're perfect. Do your work, and you're perfect.
Trish is my primary teacher when we are teaching Love Coach Academy stuff, when we put on our Love Coach Academy caps. And when people ask, what's the difference between love coaching and traditional therapy? My response is that in traditional therapy, there's a lot of focus on what's wrong. Therapists spend years learning how to diagnose and evaluate what's wrong with someone. And I recognize, obviously, there's a purpose to that. But as Trish is saying, in love coaching, we believe that there's nothing wrong with anyone. There are very real challenges. There's the challenge of being high functioning autistic. There's the challenge of being, emotionally wounded. There's the challenges of having a neglectful mother or an abusive father. There's the challenges of whatever it is that we're coping with. But nobody's fundamentally broken. These are the challenges and the perfectly human experiences that we're working with in order to learn to love ourselves more fully. And because I've done so many shows now on near-death experiences, and some of you have heard me say this before, but when the primary researcher who researched 300 authentic cases of near-death experiences, what he came away from it was, the meaning of life, what people see, whether it's Jesus showing it to them or their dead Uncle Fred showing it to them, the meaning of life is I'm here to learn to love, starting with myself. That is the meaning of life. But then it's learning to love myself regardless of, or in spite of my challenge, that my father beat me, or that my wife left me, or that I'm an alcoholic, or I lost my legs in the car accident, or whatever it was. We all have these incredible challenges to deal with, but we're here to learn to love ourselves despite those challenges.
Scott, you were saying that there's these challenges of being high functioning autistic or being really sick. It's one of the reasons why I checked out for some time, is because I've been really sick. And we talked about this earlier in the show as well, or having ADHD or not, there's these challenges. And I want to talk about why they're challenges. Again, I don't think, as I study sociology and as I study cultural anthropology, and the further I get back, yes, there's societies and people who ran the show all the time, but I think that in a lot of tribal communities, that they saw people, for themselves, for their authentic expression. And that certain societies have taught us that, again, going back to this, why are there challenges except for just acceptance of what is? Because there's some distinction that someone created as bad and wrong. In one of Bridges' courses in Heal Thyself, a Transformative Initiation for People Racialized as White by Bridge Feltus. And I mean, if you want to take that class, you should do that, because I don't think they're going to run it again. Just saying, it's coming up soon. But she said one of the classes was, it hit me. I took it the second time, and this is where it hit me. I totally missed this section. I was already but in the second realm of it, I heard that when we were taught to separate ourselves from God, that there was a shameful God, a God that shamed us or guilted us, is where we became bad and wrong, and that we no longer could have, that created this place where we were not enough, where we were humans were naughty for having our authentic pleasures. I don't think that there wasn't as much war or specific kinds of violence that we have now. I can send you articles on the cultural anthropology if you want to know more about this. And that's created through some of the destructive social structures that we have now. So poverty is a very curable piece. So some of us who are sitting here, and even Ariel brought this in, if you are just joining us, go back and listen to this part. But even this is do I have enough money to feel worthy of? Do I have the social status to be worthy of? And it's those places that actually are just constructed belief systems in our culture, that when we look at people from a very accepting place, that we can see the human for their wants, needs, and desires, and their quirky youthfulness and their delight and those pieces. So if we're thinking about the challenges, coming back to the main point, is like coming back to the challenges of living a life, like how can we show up with ourselves first and then other people, and like, oh, it's got to be really hard to have high functioning ADHD or autism in a world that's constructed around people who are neurotypical or people who behave in this certain way because they're rewarded for behaving in that way. There's some of us who just can't fit in. So how can we just love that person for being themselves, like truly themselves? How can, and that starts here. Like, how can I love someone how can I really love someone? And I mean the radical acceptance of what it is. How can I really love Scott for all that Scott is if I'm not going to first love who I am, accept who I am, and even the places where I get annoyed with Scott. Yes, I do get annoyed with Scott. I also get annoyed with myself. You're like, oh, you get annoyed with me too. It's love. Like when you know you've been deep enough with someone that you're like, that person's so lovingly annoying and I want to talk it out with you. But it's like that. Can I accept him for that? The things that annoy me. Can I look at those places inside of me and be like, can I accept that belief or that value that I have there? It's really there, right? Again, it's not about accepting abuse or being okay with those types of things. It's not about that. It really is about showing up and looking at the whole being, your whole being, as a whole being.
Acceptance doesn't mean condoning hurtful behavior.
Yes.
So we definitely want to make that clear. But, the truth is that most of us are learning how to be fully present to what is. And the great non-denominational spiritual practice is acceptance, right? And that's love. Self-love starts with self-acceptance and love of another person, real love. She talked about our relationship. So obviously we've known each other. We've gone through all sorts of different cycles and times with each other. And that real love is that acceptance of, God, it drives me crazy when she does that. Or it drives me nuts that he does or doesn't do whatever he does or doesn't do that I want him to do. But when we can accept that that's what has happened in the past, accept that's who he or she is in this moment or their way of being, if it is having an impact, a consequence, then ideally we can talk about it. Not from the place of what you're doing is bad, stupid, or wrong, but I want you to understand how what you do impacts me, right? And that's a really good point. I'll just say it again. We share it with each other, not to make the other one bad, stupid, or wrong, but to share it as when you do that thing or don't do what I want, this is how it impacts me. And I'm sharing it for the purpose of us to have a better relationship, to have a better understanding of each other.
There's this tool, there's this book that I really love, but there's this tool in this book, and it cracks me up because, and some, like Jay Shetty and some other spiritual teachers are talking about this right now, is, I don't know what they call it, but this is called the weaknesses of strengths. And one of the pieces is like, so there's certain things that your partner or your friends or someone you're really your parents or family will do, and it's insanely irritating for you, right? And you're always like, oh, like he used Jay Shetty used this experience of like, I am so frustrated with my wife being late all the time. Like she's late all the time. So then I will get in the car and I'll just be like, and I'll go to the party and I'll be and then, and so even at home, I'm like, you were late. And I'm actually making it a bad night for both of us, for me and for her. But the thing is that it is the other edge of the sword. So she's got all these strengths, which means she's amazingly spontaneous and creative and fun and delightful. And they get into a lot of cool things because she's spontaneous. Well, what happens with spontaneous people? they are often not scheduled. So she's late. And so once he realized that he'd realized that piece, he was like, I'm trying to make her like me.
Mm.
I love her because she's not like me. So can I accept her for those pieces? Can I accept her weaknesses of her strengths? And to really accept those pieces, like I've got strengths, and now those strengths come with a whole lot of shadow. Like I
Yeah.
know those things, and with us specifically, Scott, is like, if I can just accept that you are the way you are, and be like, I can count on you to be who you are. I can count on that. And so I'm like, okay, I can just love Scott for where he is, and knowing full well that my desires or my needs are there around certain things, I can plan for that too. Like, it's on me to know that I'm in proximity to you. I know that. Again, it's ownership. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm going to read a few of the comments. No, I'm loving what you're saying. You're back. Trish is back.
I think you just like my antics.
So Eleanor Joy writes, it's not always about getting a resolution, but understanding we are each different and our discomfort comes from our own stuff. And absolutely. Karen Eisenberg writes, yes, looking at the whole being, loving all parts of ourself. Eleanor Joy also wrote, sometimes I find that a huge shift in awareness happens by divine grace, or as I like to say, maximum grace. One time when living in Ireland in the 90s, I suddenly felt myself sitting in the lap of Daddy God while looking at a cloud. Beautiful, beautiful. And Sylvia earlier had written something quite lovely that I wanted to read. She said, a friend from early deep trauma recovery decades ago, who died on the street last fall, wrote a song with lyrics that started, I'm good enough for Jesus, I'm enough for God. I share it here in honor of her life. Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you for that. And that is true. You know, it's a wonderful practice actually for self-love or self-acceptance is pick, if you have a particular religious archetype that you look up to, such as Jesus or Mother Mary or the Buddha, how would they see me? You know, and how would Jesus see me? How would Mother Mary see me? Or how would just a very loving, unconditionally loving mother see me in this moment? And then we can apply that to our practices. If Trish is bugging me and I'm in a judgment about Trish, can I shift into how would divinity see Trish? How does divine perfection see Trish? How does God, if you want to use that term, see Trish or myself? And we can raise to a higher level by doing a practice like that. One last example, another way of doing it is, wow, there's God fully experiencing itself as Trish, right? Or if you believe in the oneness way of seeing things, there I am experiencing myself fully as Trish. So these are ways that we can elevate our way of seeing ourselves or seeing each other.
And also one way to take your judgments or your crunchy feelings and making it an honest communication space is to be like, Scott, I'm so judging you right now for doing these. I'm irritated and I have all these things. And to really make it powerful is that what I'm wanting is this. What's under the judgment? What's under the crunch? What's under the frustration? Because there's something that you want or need or value underneath your feeling of that. And being able to be like, hey, that's what I want. I can see you as God, and I'm still like, God. Oh, God is so lovingly irritating. You know, but that's the way, you know, it's not running away from the discomfort but to show up in it. And I love that you brought up discomfort, because what the most amazing thing that we can do for ourselves or for other people is to expand our capability to be in discomfort. Again, I'm not saying that abuse or violence or any of those things are okay, but I'm talking about like the sort of like the normal
Right.
relational place of people who love each other and who are wanting to be loving to each other. And it's like expanding your capacity to be with discomfort for yourself, even. Like, how can I accept the discomfort of this moment because I'm not showing up the way that I really want to be, or maybe or I'm in so much pain. How can I just really be here without trying to fix it, change it, or move it around?
Self-acceptance. George just wrote, there you go. Impatience is often due to unmet needs in the impatient one, like myself at times. And Omashar, yes, Omashar is with us, and we're going to close with an Omashar song. Omashar writes, yes, I've more often than not run away from my own discomfort. As we begin to wind down, I'm wanting to just let everybody know that you can get much more Trish Wright by going to her website. And her website is trishwrightloves.com. Trish, Trish, Wright, her last name, Wright. Trish is always right. trishwrightloves.com. And Trish, what are you offering? What do you want for people to know?
Why don't you go up a little bit and click on Work With Me and click on workshops. There's so many of those things that I can talk about, but this is the one thing that's really vibrant and alive. And so once it loads in a couple seconds, maybe I'll scroll down a smidge.
I just want to say, because I love that the very first thing when it says Work With Me, she says all workshops are straight, queer, transgender, bi, freedom to love who you choose friendly events. Each event is founded on consent and boundary conversations. It is encouraged and also required. Thank you, Trish.
Well, I see humans for humans. I love them. I love humans. Like a lot. And I want people to feel included because souls show up in bodies that souls show up in bodies.
Very diverse.
Very diverse. And so what we were just looking at is I have a program launching on the 10th called Self Secure. And it is, we're kind of lovingly tackling jealousy, insecurity, and cultivating resilience, cultivating that place where, we're not leaning too far in for someone else's validation, but actually leaning back into our own self-sourcing, developing better communication skills, developing more loving tools about how to get our needs met and how to meet other people's needs. And if you're following me on Instagram, which is also Trish Wright Loves, I'm doing lives almost every day, and you'll see some of my writings coming up here in the next few days around some of these pieces, around self-sourcing, around generosity of the spirit, which I said something earlier in the evening about how to do nervous system regulation, how to show up more loving for partners. I shared an experience that I'm dating a woman who's also dating a woman, and there's some conflict, and I shared a little bit about how that is showing up and how to best support all people involved, including myself. So moving at regulated nervous system and self-honoring choices, and all of this is in the course as well, is like the whole foundation of my daily practices and my loving relational practices I'm teaching here. To be really honest, I created the class because I have these clients who I want to teach my tools to, and we're always putting out fires in their relationships and stuff. And I was like, you're going to have to take this class so I can give you the foundational tools so then we can walk forward. So that's where it is.
Beautiful. And that starts on January 10th,
Yep.
which would be next Monday. Tuesday. Today's Wednesday, next Tuesday. Trish, I love you so much. Thank you for being with us tonight and every Wednesday night. This is very, very cool. I want to let people know that this Friday night, we've got something very special going on. I just brought Christy Michaels onto the camera. This is, I guess, the second year in a row that Christy has put together a special show commemorating in a Global Peace Tribe kind of way, January 6th. And obviously, when we hear that date, January 6th, a lot comes into our mind. And Global Peace Tribe wants, what comes to mind is us coming together, not breaking apart, not splitting apart, not polarizing, but coming together. So, Christy, tell us about what's going to be happening this Friday night at 6 p.m. Just to be clear, everybody, this Friday night, 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 o'clock Eastern. What's going to happen, Christy?
Well, we're building a culture of kindness, which Scott, you and Deborah Giusti launched, 3 years ago with the Global Peace Tribe, and then moving on to the Awakening World. And now we've got a whole community of people that show up for each other and come together and have these wonderful conversations. Trish, I'm just so loving seeing you. I love your wisdom. And so people get to hear very intimately this, like, what can I do for myself in my own inner work? But we also have an amazing opportunity as a community to impact the greater community and actually shift the collective mind, because we have been showing up for each other. We have become familiar with each other. We are aligned with these ideas and concepts about what the Global Peace Tribe stands for, which is building a culture of kindness. So what I had the opportunity last year, Nancy Pelosi wanted to do a candlelight peace vigil, and she invited, somehow I got invited to her inner circle of the 1,500 of her top grassroots leaders. And I was able to share with them what we were doing. And we were going to do this candlelight vigil. Every community, all of her grassroots leaders were starting their own in their communities all over the US. And everybody was about doing it from that point of view of us versus them. And we did it from the point of view of Rumi's message that I will meet you on the field out past right and wrong, the field of love. And then we will have the conversation of these higher ideals about how do people really come together, because it is who we are. Our authentic being is love. And that is true whether you're on left or right or up or down or black or white or whatever your thing. There is that kernel of love. There is that spark of the divine, right? As Omar Shar pointed out, as we share our stars together, right, Omar Shar?
Yes.
And so that voice and that message has to come forth. So what happened was all of these grassroots leaders, now these are the people that the Democratic Party has put together, who when they put out the call, these people come and they show up to knock on doors and write postcards and do the political active work to keep our democracy moving forward. But if you can go back to the slide, share the screen again. So what we're doing is the Global Peace Tribe is using our influence to help heal America, because these are the boots on the ground people, and we're going to be able to talk to them because they're coming, they're signing, they're registering right now to come on to meet you. That's all of you who are coming to the Global Peace Tribe. That's why you're so important, because we have this opportunity. And of course, we've been showing up to hear the Patos sing his beautiful social justice music, and Michaela Gaston that Scott has had on for numerous times, because she is a social justice advocate that uses music for healing. I mean, Scott, you can talk about your experience with her.
Well, Michaela is amazing. She's a Black woman who, many years ago, a group of white racists in a truck saw her and decided to run her over because she was Black. And they literally ran her over and dragged her. It took her years to physically recover, and she's dedicated her life to creating harmony and understanding. She's an amazing woman. She also happens to have an incredible voice, singing voice, as well as a speaking voice. And so Michaela is one of our actually favorite presenters. She's been on the show going way back to Saturday Night Live for the Global Peace Tribe days. And so I'm really grateful that she's going to be with us, as well as Pato and Antoinette. Pato
Yes.
and Antoinette are going to be with us.
And then we have Jill Lubin, who's worked with Jack Canfield in The Chicken Soup for the Soul, and she's done an incredible author of many books, and she's sidelined with Tony Robbins. And Jill Lubin wrote this book called The Prophet of Kindness. And when I read her book, I cried because she was showing, because we have in America where, and this is what needs to be healed, where so many corporations, it's all about the bottom line and how much money and how much profit over people. And she really builds the case and makes the case from her collaborations and working with corporate clients of America, where she's helped to steer them and their consciousness and their business in the direction of, no, kindness is profitable. And you do better in your business when you're kind and you're cultivating kindness, not only for the people that you are employing, but also for the people that you're serving as customers. And it was so touching and so moving. And then, of course, there's a surge of mindfulness, which we have addressed on the Global Peace Prize, of mindfulness movement. Well, Andrea Lieberstein, who's written a book on Well Nourished, she is, as an individual, one individual is singly responsible for getting mindfulness into the whole Kaiser Permanente system. So she has a tremendous story. And she's been a national speaker all over the United States doing workshops for many, many different organizations. So these are incredible people that are doing the work of building this culture of kindness. And we're going to have an organic conversation. And but you, the Global Peace Tribe, you are the ones that are showing up for us. You're the ones that are supporting this effort to get these messages out there that Scott and Trish and everybody in Omashar and the Mystic Wild Abbot. I'm so happy I'm on the same platform with you too. And everybody is just, I mean, this is my community, and we need to raise our voices. There's a statistic that just got shown that, 1,000% increase in anti-Semitic hate activities or hate crimes are happening. That's like, what? But we've learned from the social justice work that Scott's done on this show that we have to be the voice to say, no, we don't do that. But here's how we handle the fact that you feel separate from, that you feel like you're not getting your needs met. And so you want to lash out. And here's what we do instead of lashing out. And so you present people like Trish was doing so brilliantly today. Like when you're irritated with somebody, there are other options other than just being an asshole with somebody. So thank you, Trish, for your wisdom. It's just awesome. So thank you, Scott, so much. And I love who you are and your dedication to bringing the voices forward that are so incredible, that need to be heard. And you and the Global Peace Tribe participants, please share out this. Let people know to come, because it's when we come forward and support it and say, hey, this has got to happen. We've got to introduce people to, there is another way. There is something else we can do. We can shift the mindset. We can cultivate a culture of kindness, and people will want that. They lean into that. I mean, that's why people have wanted the Global Peace Tribe, because there is a culture of compassion. here. Anyway, I can go on and on, as you know, Scott.
well, we're going to get much more Christy on Friday night, but thank you, Christy, for your passion and all that you do to put this together.
Yeah.
And
Got to do something. It's like I can't sit back and not have, I mean, just like you, I'm sure you feel like a driven man sometimes when you see what possibilities there are. And this, we now have, you have seen the possibility of what you as one individual can do with your own struggles. But really, the tremendous possibility is what we all can do when we join together and we all support and bring our conversation to the platform, such as the Global Peace Tribe. And we're finally getting the Global Peace Tribe. I mean, you guys are getting out there now more in terms of we're on Roku now and things like that. Is that what I understand?
Yes, this is true. We're getting out there more and more.
So people are going to be finding us. But when they find us, what do we want them to hear? We want them to hear that life can be good. And we are the people, and we are the ones that we are waiting for. And we are the ones who are the change agents. And here's some really powerful, super dynamic change agents that have some ideas that they can share with you through the amazing music that they sing and through their heartfelt passion of serving people and being of service. So anyway, thank you, Scott, so much.
Thank you, Christy, for your enthusiasm and your passion. It's awesome. Yeah. And we'll see you on Friday night.
All right.
Reminder, everybody, there is a unique link. I've put it into the chat box to register. Now, for all of you who are watching on Facebook through the Sign Network, probably the best bet is really join the Global Peace Tribe. And that way you can be in our Zoom room for all of our shows, get all the links easily, just interact with us much more easily. Go to globalpeacetribe.com, click the register button and join us. You'll get the links for all the next 3 months. That way you can come on into the Zoom room and get all the things we're providing. But if you don't want to register, the other option is when we hang up, I'll go to my Facebook page. I'm easy to find. I'm the only Scott Katamas on the planet. So you just go to Scott Katamas in Facebook, and then put in Love Coach Scott, actually. Love Coach Scott is how you'll find me on Facebook. And I'll post the link to register right there. And that way you can register. You'll then be sent the link for Friday night. Again, it's this Friday night at 6 p.m. This is a one-time only event that we're doing. We'll probably do it again a year from now. But it's just for this Friday night. And again, thank you everybody who came in at 6. Thank you to everybody who came in at 7:30. And welcome to a new year of the Awakening World. And as Christy described, we're going to continue to bring you some of your favorite luminaries that are old timers, like, well, I'll just say like myself. And we're going to bring you the next generation, like Trish. And that's one of the things I enjoy about Trish, because I'm right in the middle of baby boom generation, and she's a millennial, and all are welcome. All genders, ages, cultures, or we really want to grow and evolve our tribe. So
let's get some Gen Z in here. They're so fun and fascinating.
Absolutely. And if Trish is involved, we're going to be bringing in all sorts of unique and interesting, what gender are they kind of people, right? And next week, Trish, we're going to be getting ready to celebrate MLK weekend. And so we have some very wonderful guests lined up, and it's all going to be about how can we actually live MLK's vision. Like, it's not just about celebrating this guy once a year. What were his values? What was he asking us to do, and how can we live it? And I've sent an invitation to Bridge, so we'll see if Bridge joins us on Wednesday night. All right, we begin and we end with Omashar. He is the Alpha and Omega of the Awakening World, and so thank you, brother, for your patience. Wow, you're
patience.
Michaels.
Yeah, I brought this backdrop up specifically for you, Christy. And,
it is. You two are the Golden Light Twins.
I know, right? There it is. And however, I have to say what a powerfully raw, dynamic and insightful show this has been. It is an amazing direction for us to be going in, because all this needs to be cleared out for us to raise ourselves. And thank you, Trish, and your friends for inspiring and enlightening me. I actually feel hopeful for my own emotional uncovering, because it's ripe for me now. It's so ripe, for me to become a fully balanced male, female within this body. It's now time to open my heart fully and uncover all those things that I've been hiding from for a couple of decades. Let's put it that way. And I do consider myself new generation. And for this song that I'm going to sing now, we're going to have a different backdrop. This one. And give me a moment. Let's go. Trippy.
Let me shine a light inside, and I'll show you where your truth resides. Lift your eyes up to the skies, and I'll prove to you that nothing dies. Together we will rise again, and we'll make amends for what we've done. I know you hear me, so please do not fear me, 'cause I'm here to lift you, restore you to glory, and love you, hold you, and be your victory. My child, I will welcome you home. Welcome you home. So let me take your hand in mine, 'cause as I look at you, your spirit shines. You see, it's true that we are one, and we came out from the central sun. I know you hear me, so please do not fear me, 'cause I'm here to lift you, restore you to glory, and love you and hold you, and be your victory. My love, I will welcome you home. Welcome you home. So when you take a different view, and you dream awake, breathe out the new. The world will come alive again, as we dance and sing and make new friends. I know you hear me, so please do not fear me, 'cause I'm here to lift you, restore you to glory, and love you and hold you, and be your victory. My love, I will welcome you home. Let me take your hand in mine as I look at you, Trish, your spirit shines. Yes, you.
Oh, beautiful. Let's go to gallery view for a moment there.
That was such a trip. I had it on gallery view and I kept on being pulled out of my body into all the dancing and the movement.
You know, it's become my favorite part of these shows is spotlighting people as you're all dancing and moving. And I really want to thank a big thank you to Eleanor Joy and Reverend Jeffrey, because they are always kind of leading the dance party.
I saw some camera wiggles there and everything, and I next time I'm just going to have it on me. And so not you, but my view.
No, it's really, really fun. And I love watching everybody dancing and moving. And what a beautiful tribe we have. So here we are. We have Wednesday night, Awakening World. You don't have to wait until the weekend. So, but we will see you this Friday night for this one unique one. Make sure you've registered. Trish, it's great to have you back. Welcome back.
Great to be back. I love you both.
And I'm going to go back to gallery view one last time. Everybody twinkle good night, and we will see you on Friday night. Take care, everybody. Much love.
Bye.